Welcome to Unsubscribe. I'm your host, Avani Jain. In this podcast, I'm going to show you how to intentionally opt out of anything that's robbing you of your energy, freedom, joy, and peace of mind. It's time to let it all go, finally, so that you can clear your mental inboxes and make space to subscribe to a life that truly lights your soul. If you're ready, hop in. We are embarking on the transformation of a lifetime. Hello, my beautiful friends. Welcome back to another episode of Unsubscribe. I'm so excited to dive into what I think is going to be the juiciest podcast episode yet, because we are talking about my worst year in business, which was 2023. I want to spill all the details. I want to talk a little bit about what happened, why it happened, what does it actually mean, and how it actually wasn't a bad thing. I want to talk about what is success and how 2023 really helped me redefine my vision of success and what that looks like and what that feels like. Because in all honesty, yeah, on paper, 2023 was a bad year in business for my agency that I run, bad year in business, but it was probably the best year of my life. It was incredible. And why are we only measuring success by what we're doing in our career? Why are we only measuring success by the monetary value we're bringing into our business, our career, or our partnership, our little unit that we're growing? Why are we measuring success in these antiquated ways when success is so much more than being productive, than making money, than growing at all costs? That is not what success is, because if we focus on those things without paying attention to who we are as human beings, then we're not even happy at the end of the day. We're not even healthy at the end of the day. And is that really successful? I don't think so. So I want to talk about it. I want to get into the nitty gritty here and talk about the juice, talk about the tea, juice, tea. I don't know. What are we trying to call the really good stuff that we want to hear these days? Both. I think it's juicy. Anyway, whatever. We're gonna spill the tea. So let's talk about it. I just got my taxes back from my accountant yesterday, I think, for 2023. And I wasn't really surprised. I've been teasing a little, sharing a little about how we had multiple down months last year. We had multiple months where we didn't make a profit. We spent more money than we made. And it was hard. I had to cut my salary last year for many months. I didn't take draws as an owner. And that was tough. That was really tough. After incredibly successful years in 2021, in 2022, post-COVID era, business was booming for a lot of us in a beautiful, amazing way. And we scaled. And it was so cool. And we were on a high. And then 2023 happened, and people really started to inspect things, inspect their budgets, take a look at what was actually creating results, and change the way they spent money. And they were investing differently. So my agency, which is a product design agency that people hire out for extra help when designing their apps and web apps, was not as sought after as it had been in the past. And it was a hard year in the market. When we looked at the profit, basically what I took away and pocketed at the end of the year after everything, we lost $12,000. Let that sink in. We lost $12,000 last year, and we had never had a year in the red before. I've been in business since 2017. So that is like 7 years. Yeah. And we didn't have a down year before. So this was a big one. Luckily, I've had an entire year to process it. It started happening early on in the year, and there's a lot of transformation that has happened for me, which I talk about in the first few episodes of the podcast. And so hearing this, that we had a loss of $12,000 last year, wasn't a surprise to me. It wasn't debilitating because I'd already processed a lot of it. But I want to talk about just how I processed it and what I'm taking away from it and what it even means. So I lost $12,000. The business that I run, Matcha Design Labs, lost $12,000 last year. That means we spent more money than we made. We spend money on a lot of different things. We spend money on hiring team members who are working with us and helping us deliver on projects. We spend money on tools like using Figma and using Jitter and all these other tools to help us create what we create for our clients. That costs money, the subscriptions that we pay for. We use ClickUp for project management. We use Toggle. We use Loom. We use all of these amazing services and subscriptions to make sure our business runs well and runs beautifully. That costs money. So that's part of the investment that goes into running our business. That is an expense for us. And hiring contractors, like I said, team members, investing in other things like educational courses and masterminds and things that are going to grow me, grow our team, and help us level up to be who we need to be for the next phase of business. All of these things were things we spent money on. They were expenses. And we spent more, had more expenses than the revenue that was coming in all of 2023. And so when you did the math, revenue minus expenses, it was negative 12,000, which is kind of like crazy, because on paper, when you look at that, it looks bad. It looks like, oh, wait, your business is not working. But what is working? What is working? I now look back at all of this and I think about last year and I think about, yeah, it was hard to realize that we weren't going to be as profitable as we had been in the past. But that wasn't my focus last year. I had really lost touch with why I was doing what I was doing. And I spent a lot of time mentally working on myself, doing the deep work, doing the inner work to figure out why I was where I was and what I was going to go do next and how I was going to move forward from being in this place. The depths of what am I doing with my life? You heard me say that and share that story in the first couple episodes. And so the outcome of that was this podcast. Like, wow, what a huge success. I started recording for this podcast. We branded for the podcast. We created excitement around this podcast, and we launched it on January 11th, 2024. That was a huge success that came out of 2023. Amazing. I turned my health around. I lost a lot of weight, which I don't talk about the numbers because I don't think it's helpful to talk about numbers without context. I lost fat that I didn't need. I recomped my body. I have a completely different body composition going out of 2023 than I did going into 2023. I put on muscle. I focused on weightlifting. I cleaned up my food and my diet in the kitchen. I really worked on my physical health, and I worked on putting the right nutrients into my body, the right minerals, the right macronutrients, the vitamins that I was taking, everything, my gut, all of it. And I actually improved my liver function so much. My doctor was looking at my liver function after a blood test recently. Like, you have gone from your liver looking like a 60-year-old to looking like a 30-year-old, which I'm a 32-year-old now. And he's like, this is incredible. You're amazing for doing this. And so health was a big, big win. That was a huge success for me. The older I get, the more I realize that if you don't have health, nothing else matters. Like, if you don't feel good every day, then what is the point of having money or having like a fancy car or fancy house or whatever it is that we all think we want in our lives? Health is such a foundational piece, and not just physical health, but mental health too. I talked about how I spent a lot of time doing the inner work, and I started going to therapy. That was huge for me. Just having an incredible third party who listens to me, who holds space for me in a way that is so supportive, changed the game for me. And that's helped me level up mentally to be who I need to be. So incredible. I talked a little bit about what goes into the expenses of last year. And one of those things was investing in a mastermind. That was amazing. That's a huge success. And technically that's an expense in my business because I was growing myself and learning about how I wanted to operate in my days and how I wanted to market things and what I wanted to implement into my business, into the things that I was creating, now my podcast. And that was an expense technically, but it was a huge success. And I learned so much and made these amazing connections with the coolest people. I'm so grateful for that. And I got myself in the room, like rooms of amazing entrepreneurs, 7-figure, 8-figure entrepreneurs that I only dreamt of being around one day, but I was there as a peer in that room. Just so cool to be in that mastermind, to be in that space. And so that was a huge success. So you can see as I'm talking about these various things that felt like big successes to me in 2023, it's not about the dollars that came in that we were left with at the end of the day on December 31st, 2023. Because even though we had, essentially, I spent money out of the bank account to keep the business going, which was about $12,000 last year, I didn't
feel that. I felt these other successes. I felt where my energy was going in my health, in my mental health, in my relationships. I was able to grow an even stronger relationship with my husband, with my parents, with my in-laws, and learn about how to be better for them, learn about how to be a better sister and supportive to my brother who made this amazing career pivot that I'm just so proud of, and be a better sister-in-law, be a better friend to all the amazing friends that I have in my life. I invested in relationships. I invested in my health. I invested in my mental health. And I invested in what's next in my career, in this podcast and creating this, and just so many things that I now write off as successes in 2023. And none of these are dollars in the bank. So why are we measuring success by how much money our business made? Why? Because that's not what success is. It just is not anymore. It really shouldn't have been to begin with. Like, what is it we really want in our lives? We want to be loved. We want to be accepted. We want to feel safe. We want to feel like we matter. We want to have a purpose. None of those things are money. And we think that money is going to bring us those things, but it really doesn't. We need to work on ourselves to bring those things into reality. And so that is how I'm measuring success now. That is how I am viewing success differently. It's not the dollars I'm bringing in. It's not the monetary value that my business creates or whatever I create next in addition to my business creates. It's none of those things. It is all of these other things I'm talking about. And even in the business realm, it was a successful year in many ways. I had team members that left, which was really hard at the beginning of 2023, but that really opened the path for new team members to come in. We had new faces and new people who brought in new energy into my agency, new experience, and seasoned designers that were able to come in, seasoned product professionals that were able to come in and serve our clients at an even higher level, that allowed us to change our packages, allowed us to change what we were charging. And we, because of that good work we did in smaller projects in 2023, attracted big projects in 2024. It's actually how I closed $250,000 of revenue in December in one single week for the year of 2024. We closed these amazing projects that came in, like dream projects, people I've wanted to work with and that I even pitched to work with years and years ago. And now we're working with them. And so what's cool is it all compounded. I worked on finding the right team members to operate in this new way of being in our business, and we created results, and that allowed us to attract more projects, more clients, more work for that team. And now I'm in a place where almost all of our clients are being serviced by my team and not me, which is so cool. I don't feel the weight when I bring on a new client or a new project because I know that there is someone capable who's going to be executing on that. And that is incredible. I've never, before 2023, I didn't feel that. I felt stressed and worried about bringing on a new client or project. And I felt really nervous to hand them off to a team member. And now I don't feel that. And that's a huge win. Like making myself redundant in my business. Wow. Yeah, that was worth the $12,000 investment. Like, oh my goodness, isn't that the dream? And those little pieces started to fall into place. And I couldn't have predicted this. So when I look back in 2023, I look at a successful year. I look at a year that was a major milestone in many ways. It was the era of a new way of being for Matcha Design Labs. And it was an era of a new way of being for me, for Avani. And wow, I'm so grateful for it. Now that I think about it, I would have it no other way, even though it was hard to accept that like this is where we were and we weren't going to have like this super successful, profitable millions and millions of dollars a year. It wasn't going to be that. That was not what I had as a vision. And then my vision was completely changed. The universe had something else in mind. And I simply had to surrender to that and be available for what else success could look like for me. And that is how I reframed my worst year in business. It wasn't easy. I'm talking to you about it, honestly, like not even 9, almost 12 months after that crumbling began. And I'm able to talk about it because I've processed it and I see the good in that really hard year, that year that looked really bad on paper. But there's more to what shows up on paper, what shows up on an income statement to your business. Your business is not your profit and loss sheet. your business is more than that. Your business is an entity, a being of itself that has ups and downs, that ebbs and flows, that can grow in one area when it looks like it's not growing at all. And that is magical. And we get to be available for that growth in various ways. We need to realize that growth and success just does not look like one thing. It's just this weird, like, masculine vision that we have latched onto in online business, in running service-based agencies, in having corporate. It's like, this is the metric. Like, what is your salary? What is the money your business is bringing in? What is your profitability? What is your revenue? And like, we want to see these numbers because these numbers are something that we can attach our ego to and say we ran a, $100,000 year or whatever it is, or we have a six-figure salary. We have this ego attached to it because that's what society says we should do and says how we should operate is this way. But it's all made up. It's all so made up and it's dumb. Like, why are we doing that? Let's unsubscribe to that way of being. Let's unsubscribe to making numbers mean what society wants them to mean. And let's give meaning that we actually align with to those numbers. What is the story behind that number? If you have a six-figure salary, that's amazing. What is the story behind that six-figure salary? What is all the other areas of success that has brought to your life because you are at that point? I want us to reframe how we look at money, how we look at income and revenue. And I want us to look at our lives holistically, not just one tiny sliver of what is the money I brought in, but like, what is all the other stuff I brought in? What is the joy I brought in? What is the love I brought in? What is the energy I brought in? What is the health that I experienced that year? What are the adventures I experienced? Did I travel a lot? I didn't even talk about travel and all the trips we took, like all the memories we made. Oh my goodness. There's so much I left out of like other ways that year was successful. But why are we being so myopic? Let's unsubscribe to viewing success as numbers, as money, and let's subscribe to a bigger way of being, a more expansive way of looking at life. Because when we can do that, we put ourselves in a position to feel happiness, to feel contentment, and just to be so in a place of peace with how we're operating in our day-to-day lives. And success looks different for everyone. My version of success, with flexible schedule and space and calm and a regulated nervous system and so many other things, health, that version of success might not be success to you or to the next person. You might love having a busy, hectic schedule and that feels really successful to you. Whatever that is, I want you to identify it and think about it and write it down and own it. Show up as that version of you unapologetically and make your life, make your work, your day-to-day align with what that version of success looks like. That's how we want to be in this world. That's how we want to show up. Let's subscribe to that. Thank you all for listening into this episode. I loved sharing this. I loved recording this. And I hope this inspires you to reframe what might have been your worst year in business, what might have been your hardest moment in your career. Because for a lot of people, it was very hard. It was a hard year financially. It was a hard year in business. And I want us to look back and reframe that. I want us to walk away with good thoughts and good ideas and integrations of that year. And that's what's going to serve us moving forward, because it's not worth it to continue to be sad and down on ourselves about last year. It's time to reframe that, take the good, and bring that into 2024 and beyond, into the rest of our lives. Thank you all for listening in today, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Talk to you soon.